In the previous episode, I sailed from Magnetic Island to Mourilyan Harbor, and here I once again sail offshore to Sudbury Cay on Sudbury Reef in the Great Barrier Reef, and then visit Fitzroy Island before heading on via Mission Bay to Cairns. It was a gorgeous pre-dawn sight, looking out the mouth of the Moresby River and Mourilyan Harbor the next morning. This was the dead of winter in Australia, and even this far north, the mornings were sometimes quite cold.
It is so cold this morning. I have 4 layers on, and you can see the steam mist coming off the water with the cold wind coming from the northwest. Wow! It'll warm up eventually. Yeah, it's Friday the 18th, yet another absolutely gorgeous blue sky day. Nice strong southwesterly this morning and now southerly. So we have full main set on a broad reach, very broad reach, and jib pulled out to port. Man, we are flying along. I'll try to spin around to the waves behind. They're not big because this is a relatively fresh wind, but there's some swell from last night. There was a strong southeaster. And, typically the wind starts off from there, southwest, goes south mid-morning, which it is now, then dies a little bit, and then goes southeast to the trades, especially offshore where I'm headed, trying to get to Sudbury Reef and Sudbury Cay for the weekend. As usual, it won't show, but these swells from the southeaster last night are a good 2 meters when you get a set come through. 1 meter the rest of the time. Wind vane is working pretty hard to keep us headed where we swing at least 20, maybe 30 degrees. But general course is basically north. Man, it was cold this morning. I could do with some warmer weather, but no doubt by the time I get up to York, Cape York, I'll be complaining about the heat. Here's something you don't see often. There's not a lot of ships in this close shore shipping lane. And here I've got 2 of them. A northbound one on the left, southbound one on the right, both empty. I'm not sure what this one northbound is doing. Maybe it delivered crude oil or something to Australia. I'm not sure what else Australia imports in the way of bulk materials. The one on the left is presumably coming down to pick up ore or something. Otherwise they're basically identical. Both have 7 or 6 big hatches on the top. And they're both about the same length according to AIS. One on the left is doing 13 knots because it's got wind, waves and current, tidal stream with it. One on the right is doing 10 knots. They're going to pass each other port to port in a minute or so. There you go. Passing each other safely, I'd say half a mile between them. And we're on the edge of the shipping lane here, about 2 miles away from them. The camera's having trouble staying in focus, wants to focus on the waves right next to us here, and I don't hold it perfectly steady. There we go. The superstructures lined up. And they are past each other. Bingo.
Sudbury Reef is pretty large, and the Cay is at the northwest end of it. I took one of 2 public moorings just north of it.
Well, that was a fantastic 35-mile sail. Pretty much broad reaching the whole way, downwind the end. Southeast trades are blowing nicely, 15 to 20, and I'm on a public mooring here. Took 3 attempts to get this line, but that's because the wind and the current were blowing me off. And this is supposed to be good for 30 knots and 25 boats. I'll be okay. And this is all the reef. It's a huge reef. This is just a little bit of it, Sudbury reef. This is Sudbury K. The sandbar's obviously been here for an awfully long time. Probably gets washed away by a cyclone and then reforms. And there'll be a bit of wind noise now, but zoom all the way and you can see the coast. We've come down a long, long way. A lot of wind noise. And Cairns is just around the corner there, 25 miles away.
Unfortunately, unlike at Stanley Reef, the trades were blowing hard, and at high tide the wraparound swell was really bad. So not only did I not try to go ashore, but I had a rocking and rolling night.
Oh, it's Saturday, June 20th, and I'm just 2 days away from going into Cairns. But today I drove just a lazy sail across here, just 8 miles from Sudbury Cay to this island, Fitzroy Island. It's got 2 lights on it. This is the old one up on the top. I'm going to do a hike up there. And this is the new one down below, and actually a little island in front here, Little Fitzroy. Should be a nice day. Yet again, blue skies, southwesterly breeze in the morning, going southerly, and eventually in the afternoon southeast.
I picked up a public mooring on the northwest side of this very popular island, which, contrary to my idea in the Port Clinton video, was named by Cook for the British Prime Minister at the time, the Duke of Grafton, Augustus Henry Fitzroy. So there.
This Fitzroy Island, there's a whole resort here. Probably get dinner there. Ferries bringing people back and forth. Almost all the public moorings here were taken. I got the last obvious one, but there's a bunch more along the shore over there, at least a couple around the corner. One of them really nice in between Fitzroy and Little Fitzroy. I'd be tempted to go there tonight if this place is a little chaotic. And through here, I might just be able to see another one. Yeah, that little blue dot there is another public one. So pretty much headed for low tide now. Should be some snorkeling on these corals right here, we'll see.
I walked the red trail on this map up to the old lighthouse, and then steeply up to the summit lookout, shown on this map.
Well, they have this trail. It's actually a road, service road, concrete tracks to lighthouse and then the top of the island, and it's lovely through this jungle area. It's noon, so I'm late, but I just arrived on the island. This is where I came up, and it goes a long way like this. It's going to be a hard walk, but anyway, I need the exercise. Oh yikes, I thought that section back there was steep. It's nothing. These are sulfur-crested cockatoos. Look at this. Ay, 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 ay. Man, oh man. They labelled it on the map as difficult. Oh, I grant them that. There's a large monitor lizard here. It's going to take off like a shot when I get close. Beautiful yellow throat. It's about 3 or 4 feet long. There we go. Yeah, you're a beauty. Look at you. And back from the top, here's the resort down below. Sea changes. The dock boat on the left there in the middle of the picture right now. And yeah, it's a beautiful place. Mostly all forested with no trails through most of it. And there's the coast that we came down from, or up from. All right, gotta love these mornings. I'm a little late even, the color's kind of gone from the sky, but beautifully quiet morning, lovely quiet night. Lots of birds in the trees here calling. And I gotta give them credit, you know, there's a lot of boats here, but it was very quiet. Nobody making a racket at night. It's a gentle breeze in here, but I think it's actually blowing quite hard outside. A typical southwesterly, I think. Not nearly as cold as it's been recently, which is really nice. And it's gonna be, no, that was the penultimate night. I've got one more night, Mission Bay, before I get to Cairns. And boy, pulling the, even though you're not supposed to do it, pulling the mooring ball upside down up on the second bow roller really made the difference. No banging on the side of the hull. Yeah, I like it. It's Sunday the 21st. A very nice quiet night over by the main bay on Fitzroy Island. And now, just for the hell of it, I've come over here to another public mooring. There's a whole bunch of them along the edge here. Between Fitzroy, and there's the derelict lighthouse up there, and Little Fitzroy.
While I was there, a Marine Park Patrol boat approached and insisted on giving me an information package, most of which I already had. I like this picture of all the standing rigging and running rigging up the mast, including now a network of thin lines from the top section of the mast above the spreaders to the upper shrouds to prevent the main halyard from getting caught on one of the mast steps. That afternoon I sailed around Cape Grafton and anchored in Mission Bay, which is a very shallow bay. Indeed, at low tide our depth went down to 6 feet, just 1 foot below the keel. I was trying to get out of the wraparound swell, but it was still bad enough to warrant setting up my roll dampening buckets on each side. The next morning I sailed northwest to Yorkeys Knob Yacht Club instead of going into Cairns itself. My first objective was meeting up with Shane and Mary, the previous owners of Sea Change. They had bought her in Minnesota after her first 22 years of life on Lake Superior, named her, and spent a winter getting her ready to sail back to Australia, including major improvements to the mainsail, like the full-length battens and the third reef point, plus all the safety gear and many tools and spares on board. They sold her in Panama, and a couple of years later I acquired her. Sadly, I took no photos of them, but they generously invited me to their home in Cairns, where Mary used her Sailrite sewing machine to help me add a fourth reef and do other repairs to the mainsail, and Shane kindly gave me some old tools from his workshop. After a superb barramundi dinner that night, I embarked on the second reason to be in Cairns on this date, my 3 flights to Seattle for Gabriel and Amy's wedding, as well as our 30th wedding anniversary, and it was a fun week along with Erica and Cody, and my brother Ian and sister Pam, not to mention Erica's beautiful dog Juniper. On the return flight north from Brisbane to Cairns, we conveniently flew over Bundaberg, Pancake Creek, Stanley Reef, Sudbury Cay, and after turning around landed over Yorkeys Knob Yacht Club. In the next episode I sail on north via Low and Hope Islands to Cooktown,